Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Slay to Success Talk Show. My name is Rochelle Slay Queen Hemingway, CEO and founder of Slay to Success. I advise and empower women professionals, especially women veterans, to step up into their most authentic personal brand to gain and attract lucrative opportunities. And we are focusing on 4 areas: appearance, behaviors, communication skills, and our digital presence. Because once we master those 4 areas, anything that we desire and deserve can be ours. And so we are starting first with the slay word, if you will. Slay means to kill it, to dominate, and to nail it, to be on point, to impress greatly, to dream big and work hard until you own it. It's also an acronym that stands for Universal Life and Leadership Philosophies that really resonate with me the most. And I know that they resonate with you too. And that is stay ready to be ready, lead out loud, a sense of community, and knowing you are built to last. So we already have people in the building. All right, y'all. I mean, even before the show was even starting, I had Leslie come out here. Good evening, my queen, and welcome to the Slay to Success Talk Show. I'm so happy that you are here, and happy Sunday to you as well. It is a great day, y'all, to be here, especially on a Sunday evening in the month of April, and the sun is shining. So I hopefully know that you are all doing well. And thank you so much for being here right at the very beginning of the show. And listen, y'all, you know what I do. I search high and I search low for some great men and women who are using the slave philosophies to make a significant impact, and not just a significant impact, I would say incredible positive impact in this world. All right. And they're doing it on their own terms. And they're doing it so well that they have to come on here on the show and be a part of this experience that we have here on the show. As you know, as a professional keynote speaker, certified image consultant, personal brand expert, and an author of several books, and most importantly, a proud United States Air Force veteran of 30 years. I am just absolutely excited about being here with you all and just bringing in people that can help to inspire and motivate us. And so, as you are coming in, all right, just like Leslie has done, go ahead and put your name and where you're streaming in from. Tell us who you are, and let us know, hey, we're going to have someone here who is an expert, okay, in finances. And this is part of the dimensions of wellness that we need to be focused on, because when our finances are right, let us know, right? We can attack and do all the things. And money is a resource, it is a tool. So why not talk a little bit more about money? Okay. So as you're coming in, make sure that you put that in there so we can acknowledge you, so you be part of the conversation that we're having tonight. So, y'all, okay, who do I have with me tonight? Well, her name is Amanda Dugan, and she is a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. And she believes that financial planning should feel empowering and not intimidating. She has a deep passion for financial literacy and wealth building. Amanda is dedicated to helping individuals and families align their financial decisions with their values, vision, and long term goals. Her journey into financial services began in 2005 while earning her master's in trust and wealth management from Campbell University. Since then, she's built a dynamic life rooted in resilience, adaptability, and strategy. Alongside her husband, Josh, and their 4 daughters, Amanda traveled the world as a proud military spouse, turning the unpredictability of Navy life into opportunity through real estate, investing, and intentional financial planning. All right. So without further ado, because we're going to talk so much more about what she's doing, where she's going, and all the things, and y'all going to absolutely love her. You're going to absolutely love her when she comes on stage, because I do. So welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Amanda.
Good to see you.
I am so excited that you are here tonight. And when we met first thing on LinkedIn, okay, because y'all,
Yep.
LinkedIn is a platform that I am on every single day. And we met through that platform. And then we had a conversation, a virtual call. And I was like, oh no, like, You have to be on the show. And so I am so excited that you are here with us, because there's plenty of us here tonight. And so, how was your day? First, let's start with that. How was your day?
It was lovely. I was actually, I spent the majority of the day either sewing with the girls or honestly, so we're in Omaha, Nebraska, and it was cloudy here today. So our family goes all the time. And so today it was probably actually just a relaxing day and probably the first day in a long time that we just sat around. It was actually very nice. So we've had a
Oh, that's
wonderful
so
Sunday.
good.
Yeah.
Yes, I love those kind of days, those lazy days when you're
Yep.
just being, okay? And being is a good thing to do. And so Ernestine is here. One of my family members is here. Happy Spirited Feel Sunday back to
Oh,
you as well.
thank you.
And then I have my brother in arms who is here. He says, my sister and influential advisor. Thank you, Rich, for being here tonight with us. And Chevy, also one of my sisters in arms, and she is here with us. And so you're in good space because, you're a military spouse. And so, a lot of affiliation. Leslie's dad was in the military for a very long time as well. And so she traveled a lot. So any words that we use in here in this space is really safe when we come down to the military jargon. If there's something that people don't really understand, we'll go ahead and clear that out as we go. But tell us a little bit about
Yep.
Amanda.
Okay, so I was raised by a Marine. So my dad was a Marine pilot, and he ended up retiring out, and so he did 20 some years, and he ended up putting us on the eastern part of North Carolina. And so after he retired, he ended up continuing to work at Cherry Point. That was kind of where I was born, actually. And so I
Mm,
spent the majority of my upbringing on a farm, but my dad was a pilot. So he was one of these crazy ones that was, back in the day when they were deployed, they were deployed. And so a lot of my childhood, I remember him not being present because he was gone a lot. But
mm,
and then I ended up loved farm life, loved being raised. Obviously, there's some challenges there, but I tell everybody I feel like I had an insanely happy childhood.
wow.
And then I met my husband actually at church. And so we have a bishop. Some people call him a pastor, and he's the one that actually told me to date my husband. And so I tried to disprove what he was telling me, and it ended up working. So in
Oh,
about 5 minutes from us meeting, we got married, and so very quick. And we've had 4 girls, and he after we got married, he decided about 6 months later to join the Navy. So he joined in 2006. No, we got married in 2006. He joined in 2007. I think that's right. And
I'll
he,
start mixing up.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. So anyhow, and then he's been in. So he looks to actually retire March, I guess, of 2027. And
Okay.
so so we've had a long, happy time in the Navy. It's not always been easy. Our first 9 years they consider overseas, right? Because we went from Hawaii, which is considered overseas, to Japan, and then we had twins that were in Canada. So we had 4 kids in 4 years, and I tell everybody like they were the little three were really easy. The oldest one was like the hardest thing in the world, but they're all we're in a like really good spot, right? Because nobody's driving yet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But that starts this summer a little bit, and so we're just in a really good sweet spot with the kids. They're 14 to 10, and 4 girls, and they keep us busy. But I feel very blessed, and so there's been a lot of struggles that have gone off and on with finding myself with
Mhm.
my husband's career. I definitely remember the nights that I was battling heads with him because his career seemed to be taking off, and I felt constantly like held back from my
Mhm.
true. I wanted to show more than I was just a mom, even though that's been my number one, hopefully, thing that will go that I always want to be known for. But I wanted to show another side of me to be able to be a little bit more balanced and stuff. So I
Mm.
struggled with that for years, and I finally ended up when we were stationed in Connecticut. I finally decided to start figuring out the finance world again. That's where I had started from before I met my husband, and so I dove back into that. Um, so hopefully that's not too all over the place, but yeah, we did some real
No.
estate stuff and so forth and in between, and it's kind of led me to back to, like I said, to financial planning.
Yeah, so there are some few things that I do want to go back to, that I really feel like, should, be a little bit more highlighted. So you grew up on the farm and
Yep,
your dad was in the Marines,
yep,
and then you married, a person's, if you will, your husband, and he went into the Navy. So,
yes,
we're talking about like the generational impacts, if you will, when you are raised in an environment where it's structured and conformity, because my dad served in the Air Force for 23 years.
yep,
And then, you get into a life, just like you were before, but it may be just slightly different, right?
yep.
But there's some commonalities in there, or there's some trending points, because a lot of times people will say, no, I don't want to deal with that military life. Okay, like I've already experienced it. Was that something that you took into account for, when you were dating your husband? Did you ever think of that? Like, my dad was in the Marines and he was hardly at home. Now I have, someone that I'm wanting to marry, and he's going to be going in the military.
To be honest, I haven't thought about it. Like, I know this sounds kind of crazy, but I looked at it more of the military had provided a. I think in that spot, I was like, oh, it's safe. Like it's something that I am very familiar with. And I think I
Yeah,
looked at it in that regard. My dad was gone a lot, but I don't know. The house was always well functioning and so forth. And so I think that I didn't really, I mean, obviously, I thought about it quite a bit whenever my husband was deploying and doing subs, and I couldn't even talk to him and stuff because, when they're under the water, they don't, there's no communication and stuff. So that's a very different aspect. But at that moment, we didn't, and when we met, he was not in yet, and he had not. He was just starting to talk to recruiters, and so yeah, we got married, and then he later decided, like a few months later, because he was actually finishing up grad school. And so when it became a decision, I I have always been of the mind I will support him whatever, and we
mm,
always went into it. And this is something I'm proud to tell people that we always went and joined the military, and we had an agreement. If it was between us and our marriage or the military, it was going to be we were choosing ourselves. We're like, it doesn't matter
mm,
what your market is, we're going to cut it off if it ever gets in the way, and if it ever becomes where we're like a divorce could come up kind of thing.
yeah,
And there and so far, and I'm not saying there's not other reasons why somebody would, but for us, we just didn't want the military and the job to take effect of our marriage, and
yeah,
it's worked out. So and we've always, and even with with financial planning and stuff like that, I'm like, if it ever comes to a point where we're not able to make it work, we're going to choose ourselves, like our each other. So we
yeah.
try to keep that in mind, and it's served us very well, even through the deployments and stuff like that. And so yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because, sometimes there is that connection of, familiarity with your family. And then you're like, oh, okay, let me just marry another military member, because, I'm kind of used to that. But you explained it on how
yeah,
it kind of worked out for you. And what I really did appreciate is what Leslie put in a comment for. And so it was, she says, I love that. It's so real. Thank you for being transparent. I can relate as a mom. She lost her place as well and took a bit to find herself. And she knows that other women can relate,
good.
you know?
Yep,
So, you know, when when someone is taking off, like you said, your husband's career was going, it was flourishing,
yep.
and you kind of saw yourself, in a moment where you're like, well, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but what about me?
No, good.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, what is it for me? I want to be able to say that, I'm a part of something or I'm accomplishing something, doing
Yep.
something meaningful in the life. So, in that moment, what what kind of propelled you back into, let's get into what I was in before in the financial space?
So, like I said, so Josh's career started evolving, and I knew that like years down the road he would be trying to get out of the military. And I was raised knowing that my grandma it's always been cemented in my head that a female needs to be independent. And we need to be able to
Mm,
take care of the family, not because I want anything to happen, but because we don't ever know that something might happen. And
yeah.
so I spent a few years trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do. I had, when we got back stateside from being overseas or from Canada, we
Mhm.
consider it overseas, but I opened up a little side business. The girls were all really little still. Like the oldest one was just in third grade, and then little, and then down. But we actually started like remodeling houses and doing that. And then I also had like a sewing job on the side. So I was constantly always trying to find something to keep myself busy and to at least to not go crazy, to at least try to learn something new. So so I was constantly find whether I was, finding workers or whatever to come do do the house projects, or whether I was finding clientele and so forth. It was actually really cute, the business I had, because I had a slew of business, but the problem with alterations and stuff is everything's so different. It's like a
Uh-huh.
learning curve every single day because there's no two projects that are identical. So
Right.
I did that. It was going great. But then I finally, when we moved down to Tampa, I decided to not continue sewing just because we took on an even bigger house project. So by doing these things, we got financially ahead very much faster than what we ever would have otherwise. I used those tools to help build up our portfolio of obviously of real estate, but also to just to understand investing in different areas better and so forth as well. And I wanted to test and actually understand the markets and so forth. Um, and I loved it. And so it was also a stepping point for my husband and what he'll do as a career whenever he retires. We wanted to see if he actually wanted to do house building. So we've always kind of looked at it as our duty stations and so forth as opportunities instead of things holding us back. We try to use an opportunity to grow in a certain area. And I don't think that we always look at it that way, but it ends
Mhm.
up being that way. And we never like write it down. We're not like super, you know, things up on the wall and what vision boards or anything, but I think we are intentional about learning different things. And so when we went to Connecticut, my husband's, he took on a command tour is what
Mm.
happened. And so I was like, nope, you're not. And he's like, no, 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 we can do another one. And I'm like, no, we cannot. You
Ah!
need, he does, very, very talented. But I said, no, if we take on a house here, then you will not do the best that you can in your leadership role. So I said, I'm going to start studying for this certified financial planner exam and seeing if this is truly still a passion of mine. Because it was the only thing that I could kind of wrap my mind around solely. I mean, I probably could do houses without my husband, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's way, I don't know. I like to drive him nuts, I guess, a little bit with it. And so I decided, and he does so much of the building, right? I'm so picky about things, and he does a lot of the woodworking stuff that
Yeah.
that anyhow. So I decided that I was going to at least try to study for my CFP exam, and I did. And I did not pass it. I've only taken it that one time. I plan on taking it again next year, but I did not pass it that go around. But I learned so much. I learned I was still passionate about it. I learned it just I was able to relearn all the things I had studied years ago, and I had never actually dove into it at that time. So
Yeah.
so that's what put me back on the path to go back into financial planning and with Northwestern Mutual. And honestly, I've seen so many blessings about it. So, and I've seen a lot of, it's not easy,
Yeah.
but I've seen
Oh,
so many blessings about it. And I've seen there's been many times I thought the door was shut, and then there's another one that opens up. And so you just gotta There's many times at work I'll think to myself, you got to do something, or don't do nothing, just do something. It's even when you don't see the path, you've got to just work and keep your head down, and hopefully, it always works out one way or another. It always works out. So,
Yeah. Man, I love that. Thank you for sharing how you got into that to encourage, maybe someone else who's looking into starting something,
yeah,
seeking, exploring, maybe there is a passion that you're like, okay, let me just check it out and see what becomes of it.
yep,
And, lo and behold, you did it. Leslie's like, praise the Lord, wise grandma, that, was telling you, hey,
yes,
you never know, tuck
no,
away some money, save some money, learn about finances, understand, what money can do for you, those types of things. And those are also been passed down, and really tapping into it and thinking about what can you do. And so, I know we talked about, finances, and I share with you that when my dad passed away,
mhm,
my mom, she was trying to figure out finances, trying to figure out like what it is, the next step or whatnot. So I do want to, kind of talk that
yeah,
through a little bit of insight. I think that is important for our listeners. And hey, y'all, if you've got some questions that you generalized questions, we're not getting deep down into the
no,
weeds of your situation, but you got a generalized question for Amanda, please put it into the chat. But what are kind of some of the basic, like one-on-ones
yep,
for someone to understand? But since you are in this space and you do give, some advice and
of
consult,
course.
so what would you offer for us?
Well, one of the things that I see working with people, like I have about at least usually around 25 meetings a week is what they would like for us to keep. Now, that sounds nuts. And some weeks I'm
Mhm.
able to keep that many, some weeks I don't. But never assume, and anytime I open up and talk to a person for the first time, I never assume they have it all together, first of
Mm,
all. And you never assume, you would be amazed at the people, whenever I reach out to people, I'm amazed at the people that upon talking to them at any level, I can always connect with, or I try to at least connect with, with anybody. But there are a lot of people that have, for instance, I'll ask a friend, I'll be like, well, hey, how do you, I love to introduce myself. Who do you know in your community? Is there anybody else that I should introduce myself to? And maybe there'll be something down the road that we can do together. Doesn't mean that there always is. And I have many people that say, well, this person is amazing, but they don't need anybody. They don't need help, kind of thing. And it's very common. I reach out to somebody and they actually do need help on something. And so, for
mm,
one thing, I've had my mind opened a lot by the amount of help that I am able to hopefully assist people with. But the thing that most is common is the fact that, I don't know if you have, most people don't actually think about the fact that no one's actually taught finances at all in school. So there's this whole big shift of the fact that there's no more pensions around unless you're a government employee, right? Well,
mhm,
the amount of people that I talk to that have not been able to slow down, and they've just not met the right person to help them with their finances. And then some people I introduce myself to and they're in their 40s and they've not had the opportunity to start yet, or they are still confused about what to do. And most people don't know who to turn to. Like I said, they're not taught these things in school. And so I am not a fear monger at all. Do not take it that way. But when I see some of the changes that in the government that they talk about, with changing things a little bit with Social Security and so forth in the future, and the fact that there's not a lot of pensions put in place anymore, for me I'm even more need to make sure that I put myself out there and help, you know, people all over the place. Everybody, it doesn't matter what people have done in the past. It just matters what we do today and moving forward. And that's one
that's
of the things that is the most important to me is it does not matter what happened in the past. Like, what can we create today going forward and help somebody so that they can have a lot more peace of mind? Because I do not care what dollar amount someone comes in with. If someone has a willing heart, I can show them the way. And I just love working with a variety of different people and different backgrounds. It's very, I just love meeting and networking. So
Yeah. And you bring the temperament of what's happening in the world today, with their finances. And I know some people's portfolios are changing,
yes,
and not for the better. Some are, getting worse each and every day, and they're not quite understanding. So, getting with someone like yourself is so important to kind of just do a review, kind of look to
yeah,
see where you're at, do an audit. Like, is there any other places that you can either save, invest, or, plan for the future? Because, one of the things that I know and understand is that finances, if they are not right, they cause a lot of stress
they
and they
do.
cause a lot of anxiety because you don't know. And, and we're living in a world where money is a resource, is a tool. And those that have the money get into the things that they want to do. And those that don't, unfortunately, they are where they're at. And so, the benefits of having your money work for you instead of
Hmm.
against you
Yeah,
is one of the things that I know and understand, as I'm getting older and getting a little bit wiser, right? So as you continue to talk to your clients and so forth about, where they should, invest, how they should invest, what is the one thing that you could say that everybody should have when it comes to finance?
well, obviously, everybody should definitely. Some people are very cautious about the market, so I can't say everybody, but they should have at least a non-correlated asset, something outside the market that's not correlated. There are different items out there based upon different people as to what they could invest in. So I try to position. I can't always do it, but I try to position with the majority of my clients at least a non-correlated asset that's, like I said, that's not tied to the stock market, that's more tied to a company, or making sure that they have a pension in place and or some real estate, things like that, something that's not tied straight to the stock market. I obviously, if someone has a risk tolerance for it, obviously I'm always going to love for them to be tied into the stock market. And but and like I said, if they have those non-correlated assets, they're automatically able to go a lot more aggressive in their portfolio in the stock market.
Mm,
So, but
mhm,
anything that's opened up and intentional, making sure that if you're not auto having money automatically going into that monthly, making sure that you're working with the right person that's going to help you. I don't want to say like hold you accountable, but make sure that they're your cheerleader, right? So that you're
yeah,
wanting to continue to put in there and so forth. Someone that's going to help motivate you, um, because some people that's just all they need. It's not that they know that they need to do it, but it's we love saying there's the treadmill of life. We don't always jump off the treadmill of life to slow down and to make sure we're
mhm,
actually doing the right steps. So you always mean to, but it the timing is today, or like as they say for investing, it was yesterday kind of thing. So it's as soon as you can get in, and don't freak out about the timing in the market now, because if you're um, because the thing is it's just this is really like the buying opportunity, right? So for us that are actually on the investing side, these are the time of the markets where we actually make our clients the most money. This is the time
mm,
that we actually enjoy the most, because in down the road it's where we actually look the best. So just remember, it's as long as you're like well diversified and things like that, it's just a moment in time. And that's why it's exactly like what you were saying is the reason why we love people to be diversified and talk to our clients about things like that, options.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that what you're doing, and especially with the financial literacy education piece and understanding how the money works, and we've had several people here on the show, financial experts. And so,
mhm.
I always ask the question because everyone does it a little bit different. That's why it's so important for people to really find the person that
Yeah.
will help you, that you are comfortable with, and that you trust, you like, so that way you can make some informed decisions about your money.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
The other thing that I wanted us to talk to tonight is about your girls. Now, I know we're doing a little shift here.
I love talking about my girls. So
I know, right?
they might join us here in a second. I'm like,
Hey, listen, I'm all for it. Like, if they want a little bit of showtime, hey, like, let's get them
you
on the
know, I'm
show.
telling you, they will not shut up.
But, we were talking about raising girls in this world
Yes.
that we are living in right now and the challenges that come with that. And, I'm one of three girls in our family. And, when you got a lot of girls in
Mhm.
the house, sometimes that could be a lot, to do with. But, talking about women empowerment, and I think finances really settles nicely into, having the empowerment and the mindset about what you can do from an independent standpoint. Not always having to depend
Yes.
on someone else to, check the boxes, check the accounts and all those other things. But, when we were talking about like the women that you are raising, because they're going to be they're young women now into women.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the, I would say, best practices? Okay. So some things that are going extremely well that you and your husband have put into place um, to raise girls.
Are you talking about just in general from not
Mhm.
financially part, but just
Not
more or less
financially.
little
Yep.
ladies?
Just general ladies. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I tell everybody I love all my girls, but my oldest one has, and hopefully the rest of them don't hear this. My oldest one has probably taught me more than the rest of them have because she has always been different in a wonderful way, in a wonderful
Okay.
way. But
Okay.
when I had her and when she was little, people would come up to me and they're like, that is not normal. That is just, I mean, she was on fire from the moment that she was born.
Okay.
So, Daredevil, the biggest Daredevil, and I mean, like 30 foot up a tree and not even budging because she's not scared to death. I mean, just like no normal like sense, like no common sense, right? So
Mhm.
that's been hard to, and I use the word lightly, but manage, right? So, like so they're all different. They're all
Yeah.
different, but I'll go on her first and then I'll shift a little bit. But I have learned as she has gotten older that when people try to manage her, that it's completely the opposite. It's she's the one that taught me whenever she was little that if something was not working and if my form of discipline or whatever was not working, I better change it up or just quit because it was just she was not going to have it. So the more with her that I've leaned back and let her, for whatever reason, it's working out, I guess, because she only makes, now she's not perfect. She's like the one that I have to get onto constantly.
Mhm.
But at the big scale of things, she is the one who, is it okay if I talk about a little bit about religious stuff?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. She's the one that like she'll go and read her scriptures on her own. I didn't force that on her. I never even told her she needed to. I mean, like it's not thrown down her throat. She's the one that's like, I want to go on a mission one day for our church. And so I find that with her, just giving like the buffer and allowing her to be, as long as she's not making an absolutely horrible decision,
Right.
that's obviously when we need help. But the more relaxed I can be with her, the better she just auto corrects and so forth. And she's been lovely to see come together at this. I don't know if it's going to come back and bite me in the butt, but at this moment,
Yeah.
things have gotten remarkably well in the past 2 years. And so I tell people like sometimes, these little ladies who have a lot of big personality, I love that I'm just there for the ride at this moment. Now I have to, like I said, I do have to correct and so forth. For the most part, she makes the best choices. And if somebody's hurting at school or something like that, she is the person that will go and she's more of a leader, I guess is what I'm getting at. She
Oh
will
yeah.
um, go talk to the principal and stuff like that if something is going on to a friend of hers and she's worried about her. So because that happened at school and the little girl was doing things to harm herself. And so, she's
Um,
someone that she will, she's maybe not my comforter, but she is someone who is a leader. Um,
yeah.
the second one, she is, she has had a harder time here. She's the sweetest kid in the world. And so she needs different things because she has always had a very special, um, I would say, gift in that if someone is hurting or going through something, I've had many teachers tell me, Ayla knows that I'm going through something because she came up and gave me a big hug and she didn't know why. She just knew she needed to give me a
Empathetic.
hug.
Yeah.
And so, and then the twins, I don't know there's any rule in them because there's two of them were out. They're just easy. They came out easy, Rochelle.
Oh,
I don't know why we were blessed with two that were that easy, but they came out and they don't stop talking. They're like two little old women and have been since they were born. They're identical twins. And so we try to teach them constantly and have on a weekly discussion. We try to constantly talk to them about, maybe our personal beliefs from church, or we try to just talk to them about being good people and, make sure that we read the scriptures with them. We're not perfect. We're not
yeah.
perfect at all, but
Yeah.
we don't want those things to seem like, you know, hell and fire necessarily. We want them to show to be happy. We want them to realize those things make them happy and make us happy as a family. So, but I think honestly that's part of the reason why when things come up at school, because they hear lots of cussing and they do know that there's, sexual things and so forth going on with other people, they actually veer away. They're actually, they're like, no, we're not ready for boyfriends yet. We just like want to be kids. And so I think they are a little bit immature for their age, a little bit
Yeah.
maybe, but
Yeah.
I'm very happy that they are because it means I get to enjoy them a little bit longer, and I think that they're right where they need to be. So, so just trying to make independent little ladies and trying to just manage them. It's been a challenge, with work and stuff, but I will say that with this duty station, it's worked out very well that my husband's actually been able to gear in a lot more, and he's actually enjoyed it because
Mm.
he's never actually done that as a role much at all. It was always me solo. And so with him able to gear in, and actually I do the mornings, he does the afternoons. Sometimes if I'm having a late night, he's got to do the evenings and all the moving around from sports and stuff. But I think it's helped him out a lot to draw a lot closer to them, and to just by me allowing him to do a lot of things that I used to, I always felt like I had to have, somewhat control over, right? But
Yeah.
allowing him to do those things, he's really, able to form quite a bit of a bond with them as well too. He's always has, but more so, I would say now. So
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that, because I know, like, anytime that we have young minds, young people, if you will, that we are shaping and molding in these times, it can be
yeah,
difficult. And just because of the society and what society brings. But to have four young girls is even more challenging, I think. But, so what do you do for your wellness, and how do you take care of Amanda?
okay. So I am. I I wish I was very consistent. That is something that I feel like every week I want to be more consistent on. And I say every single Monday or every single Sunday night, I'm going to better. And I do really good for like one day. But I do consistently get up at 5 or 5:30. About at least 5 days a week. I do that. A little bit earlier, but I unfortunately am somebody who their brain wanders at night, and maybe it's an attention thing. I'm not sure, but or be in my 40s now, but it is something that is hard for me to wind down. It kind of always has been. So,
Mhm.
but I make sure that I'm getting at least enough sleep and trying to go to bed between 10 and 10:30. Make sure that I get up in the morning because honestly, if I don't work out, my the career that I've chosen. it takes, I tell people I have to be, my head has got to be in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be in the game. Like I am constantly on, I'm constantly in new meetings and so forth with people. And so that is a moment for me in the morning that, and it's so funny because sometimes at work, they'll be like, we'll do this before you come into work. And I'm like, no, like it ain't happening. That is
Yeah.
my time. It's very precious. And then after, after I worked out kind of thing and get my runner's high or whatever you want to call it, I feel, like I can take on the world. Then I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to see the girls. And like I said, I have the girls in the morning. And I'm like, that's why I want to wake up a little bit earlier, is to have a little bit more time with them. But I still make sure that we're having like really good discussions in the morning. Even if some mornings are brief, it's my time to get them to school and my
Mm-hmm.
time to like goof off with them. They love to chat with me then, and late at night, that's another time that they love to chat with me.
Uh-huh.
Is when we're always in a rush, right? But I think that those things set me up for the morning.
Yeah.
Um, that's when they're that's when we're driving to school. They're able to tell me of things that they did not get to tell me the night before, or whatever, for whatever reason, or things that just came to their mind and things that are worrying them. And I think there's just something really special about those drop offs. I mean, my husband's seen it too, and their little personalities and stuff. It's just something special about, um, it's a privilege, even though it drove me nuts when I found out we did not have buses here. but
Oh,
it
yeah.
but it really is a big privilege, and I'm grateful that I'm able to take them in the morning and that I'm able to do that with my schedule. And so, so that's so as far as doing things for myself, it's mainly working out in the morning, and then sometimes that evening I'll go for a walk. But I am trying to read a little bit more. I'm actually a poor reader,
Mm-hmm.
um, but my husband has been very, very kind with allowing me at least, 1 or 2 nights a week or whatever. If I want to go off with girlfriends for a little bit, he doesn't mind, and he's always very intentional about making sure that I'm having some time for myself, because I mean we high five a lot, right?
Yeah.
But I'm still constantly, I'll have like a sewing project going on or something like that. I need a balance, and that's what I found as a woman, especially doing finance and stuff. I need a balance. So I don't know what the future hold. I have lots of wonderful little ideas that I want to do along with my business, right? But I want to do them on the side to keep myself balanced. Like whether it will be eventually I'll get certified in Pilates or something like that. But it's, I think, finding new ways to constantly, even though I don't read a lot, but finding new ways just to learn to keep my balance, because I could not just go to work all the time and never take me time. I just would not enjoy it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
It makes total sense to me. The way that you have explained, and even in the moments where you're with your girls, and the reframing that you did, it wasn't I have to go and take the kids, I get to.
I
And
get
that's a
to.
moment where you get to talk to them, you get to connect with them, you really find out what is happening in their lives, and you could
Yeah.
provide a safe space for them to share. And I think that, that is such a beautiful thing, that, a lot of us as parents, we are looking for. And even Leslie says, she said, yes, it is. We did that with our girls up until ninth grade,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
The bus
So,
comes in ninth grade. So
yeah, they did.
we get a bus in ninth grade. But see, and I'm like, can I do all that drive? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know that I can do that car line in ninth grade. You know how high school is.
Oh
So,
my goodness, it is crazy, crazy.
yeah,
So if it's anything like this high school that our son is going to, there are like so many kids there. You don't even want to go and drive around the
right.
school because you won't get out of the parking lot in time to do anything. So, you know, um, and I do like the fact that you take the morning. I think, for me as well, the morning time is my time because it won't get done in the afternoon. Like the
It's
afternoon
not. No,
is
yeah.
is a is such a busy time for a lot of us as parents because we're catching up. They've got their activities, they got to get to their places, and then we are so tired by the end of the day anyway that we just want to just relax and just chill out. And then when you were talking about, investing in reading and, trying to find more times to do that, I think a lot of us are in the same boat as that. I'll like pick up a book and I'm asleep in a matter of like 10 minutes. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't even know what I'm reading for. I just read just a little bit of information, but I think too many times we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. But I absolutely love the creativity that you described too. Like, I want to do more sewing, or I want to do you're knitting, right? And
Yeah.
quilting and
Yeah.
all those kind of handy things that connect your movement,
Yeah.
my mom's a knitter and she crochets and she sews still to this day.
That's
And,
awesome.
she is very much, her mind is sharp, and even her motor skills, because she's constantly moving her hands. And she's saying that, she wants to do that for the rest of her life because it gives her the joy,
Yeah.
peace, and she's able to create things that people buy. So she's
Yeah,
just,
that's awesome.
yeah. So, I think that, more and more people are looking for activities that are fitting into their life that will give them that relief. I think we
Exactly.
all need the relief, the release of having something that we enjoy and
Yeah.
integrating it into our life. And you're talking about balance. I try to talk a little bit about harmony because, sometimes
Mhm.
our business will take more, it will take more for us one day in the business, and then another
Yeah.
day family is the one thing that we need to focus more on because there's a special event, or
Yeah.
or just because, you know what I mean.
Yep.
So, I think that is so important too. So yeah, we are almost at the top of the hour. As I always know that these shows usually get to the top of the hour because there's so many great things that you are sharing with us. So, you know, if I have two questions. So,
Mhm.
if there's something that you want to share with the audience before I give you the last question, please feel free to share whatever that is.
I would just say, like, if I guess I should at least talk about. I know a lot of people don't understand what financial planning is and so forth, and so I would, anybody who feels that they're on the call and they're in this and they're like, do I really need a financial planner? Do I really need an advisor? Maybe just call one up. Ask a friend. Call me up, or just find a way to get in contact. But find someone that you feel that you can open up with and talk to them about your goals and your objectives. Just tell them, say, these are my dreams, what can I do, kind of thing. And or whether that's for your heirs, your kids or whatnot. Maybe you got some that are a little bit older and they're coming out of college, kind of thing. And like I said, just because it's kind of like going and checking in and see a doctor, kind of thing. It's
Mhm.
the way that we do it. At least I love, because of the fact that we are putting together those things and so forth. And you just need to find someone that you can pour your heart out to, and try to help you realize your goals and objectives, because that's part of the slaying, right? Is making these things dreams, and or your dreams realities. And sometimes we just need to have a professional to help us to figure out what how to make those things work. So, and even just to bounce ideas off of. So yeah, I love what I do. And make and the other thing I thought of is that I should share is, you had asked me about things that we do to, for me, my time, kind of thing. Something that we're not, as I want to be a little bit more routine about it, but it's kind of ended up being about once a month. But I get city sad. I'm not used to just a bit, being in a city. And so that's the other part of rounding myself out, is that we've got to head over to Denver or head somewhere that's got some mountains or something like that. And so we make sure we do that quite. I mean, I would love to say, I mean, not everybody can do that,
Yeah.
but we try to do it as cheap as we can. We'll just go hit some hiking trails or something like that over it, and drive 8 hours, just to get out. And it's amazing because we'll be in there and in the snow, kind of thing, all together as a family, and we just look at each other, and we're like, this is our favorite thing to do. And it's nobody's on tablets, nobody's on. I mean, you can't even. we'll be out in the snow, so we can't get through our phones as easily and stuff like that. It's just the most fun. It just helps reset us and just really bring, like you said, some harmony to the family and make
Yeah.
us really understand what we're all here on earth for. It's for each other and because we're a family unit. So,
Yeah. Again, I've been at in Omaha. It was like my clinical. So as a medical technician, it was one of the places that we were there for. I think it was like 3 months or
uh-huh.
so. And the weather,
Yeah,
the place, I was like, oh no, like I cannot,
it's interesting. I
So
mean, we're very blessed. I'm yes, but yep.
yeah. So for me, it was one of those things that I was like, I'm glad I'm only here for 3 months, because I'm too. I like life, like big life, I guess. And so
Yep.
being in those rural areas sometimes, and having to get out and even driving, 8-10 hours. Because I was stationed in Montana, I was stationed in North Dakota and South Dakota. So there's a lot of land, there's a lot of road
Yeah.
out there. So
A lot of fence
getting,
posts.
huh?
A lot of fence posts.
A lot of fence posts out there, y'all. Okay, so just trying to drive to a place where you guys feel like this is, something that will help you, like help everybody in the family.
Yep.
I absolutely love road trips, just taking off and just going. So, maybe someone that's listening in, you know, maybe find themselves doing that with their family, giving them an idea of what to do. I also got this book called Bucket List,
Okay.
and we're trying to go through the bucket list, y'all. And I'm like, I don't know, what's the next trip, right? So anything that you can get your family out and make memories, because I feel like memories are one of those things that you just cannot get back. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to create them and make them, because they'll be gone. These kids, as some of us have already raised kids and they out of our houses, we still got kids in the house, and so
Yeah.
let's make these memories.
Yep. And it's
um,
really important too with military kids because I mean, they've had us moving under every 2 years. And
oh
so
yeah,
I would feel like the kids would get asked at school, hey, what family traditions do you have? And they're like, I don't know, do we have family traditions? And so we've tried to be, especially, I guess it was pretty bonkers when we were doing houses and stuff too, but we've tried to you know, create memories wherever we go. There's different things at each spot that they remember doing a lot of, and they always, for us at least, revolve around the outdoors. So,
yeah. Well, that is so amazing. So, Amanda, thank you so much for being here. I do have one more question for you.
yeah,
So I ask my guests every time someone comes here this question. So, for me at this point in my life, I am walking in steps to legacy,
yeah,
like doing things each and every day, because I want to know at my 80th birthday what my family and friends, like, I want to make sure what I think is important that they're going to say at my birthday party.
yeah.
So, what would you want your family and friends to say about you on your 80th birthday?
Well, first of all, I would want them to say that I was a lot of fun, and
Mm,
um, I would want them to say that I loved life and that I played hard and that I was sometimes strict, but that I was always forgiving. And I think that is something along those lines. I would just want them to know that on my 80th birthday, hopefully that I mean, I think that we always have regrets of things that we haven't done. And especially as you get
yeah,
older, you're like, oh, well, now I'm scared to do that or whatever. But for the most part, we only have one life to live. And I would like to at least get to 80 and know that I at least got a lot of things accomplished and I felt accomplished. Not saying that like I made lots of money and things like that, but that
Yeah.
I felt like an accomplished person. And I hope that my kids would think that I was a classy lady. So I
Mm.
always thought that my mom dressed very classy, even though she was a elementary school principal, and I always thought that one thing of her, and it kept with me for whatever reason. I always thought that she, and not that I look well put together, but I thought that my mother was always well put together, and so I would hope that my kids would think that of me. So
Yeah, man, that's so good. Y'all, listen, if I wasn't on this show, I'd just say, hey, folks, just get on the show. I could just sit back and listen to all my guests. But Amanda, thank you so much for
you're
being
very
here with us tonight. Donnell says it was a great show. So this is another
thank
one of my
you,
brother in arms. If he says it's great, then it was a great show. Okay.
thank you.
He will tell us the truth. All right. And Dr. T, one of my other sisters, she was here tonight. Thank you so much, Dr. T, for being with us tonight and giving us a love. She said awesome. So, um, you know,
Appreciate it.
y'all are just so good. All right. Thank you. This was so juicy and real. Oh, Glenroy said he got in late, but he was here. Hey, Glenroy. I'm so happy that you were here as well. This show has been going on probably for I don't know, y'all. I think maybe 2 years. I have to go back and check it
Wow,
out. And so, I'm always so pleased with the guest and what we are speaking about and all the things to help inspire and motivate others in their quest and their personal journeys. So, as you all know, I will be back here on Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Rise and Slay morning show. And then we will be back here next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time because, I got another Slay Amazing guest. Okay. I just have another one. And so we'll be back here. Hopefully, you will be back with us. Please have a safe and wonderful week and keep on slaying until you can't slay no more. And we will see you all very soon. Goodbye. Thanks, y'all. Oh,
thank you.
I forgot to say, I'm sorry. Leslie, Ernestine, Rich, Chevy, Donnell, Dr. T, Glenroy. All right. Just want to say thank you. I want to do that before we leave. Okay. Now we leaving. Okay. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.